7 weeks. It has been 7 weeks since my life was turned upside down. Since what was a routine was no longer a routine. What was steady income literally went away. 7 weeks ago, on May 18th, I was in a conference room and I was told that my last day at that employment was effective immediately. I was escorted out of the building. I had to surrender my phone, my ID badge, my laptop immediately. The crazy part is that 8 years prior, it happened to me again. Like it happened to me before in the same company. I was laid off twice by the same company 8 years apart. The difference between the two, though, is that the first time it happened, I was a little taken off guard. I was an emotional train wreck. I literally destroyed my life afterwards because I identified so much with that role that I was at that I felt as though I had nothing to live for. Meanwhile, I have a completely supportive family. I have amazing daughters, an amazing husband. This was something that was internal for me. This was something that I had to go through. This was something that I had to process on my own. And both things could be true. You can have an amazing supportive family and you can also be self-destructive, right? There's no judgment here. I need to put out a disclaimer. If you feel inclined to leave a negative comment, I will delete it. We don't have time or space for that on this channel. I want to create a very safe space for us to share, for us to be part of a community, and for us to feel as though we're being seen and heard. And coming on here and having keyboard muscles and flexing that's very cowardly, and I am not tolerating it. I will not respond to it. I will delete it and I will block you. I need to put that out there as a very clear disclaimer. What I have found over the last few weeks that I've been posting about my layoff situation, I have received an inundated amount of negative comments. I'm not able to respond to all of your comments. I have over 600 comments right now in my original post about me getting laid off. And there's just no way for me to respond to all of them, but I have been reading them. And those that are nasty or negative or Debbie Downers, I delete them. We are not here to criticize each other. We are not here to point fingers. We are not here to call each other names. That is not what we're going to do. We are adults and we are going to respect and give each other some grace. So if you feel inclined to leave a comment like that, just know that you will be deleted. And if you are one of the people in my tribe and you know how I roll and you know how my channel is, if you see a negative comment, please let me know, highlight that for me, and I will personally go in and delete them and block them because we don't have time for that, okay? So let's get on with our story today because, when I got laid off 8 years ago, it was traumatic. Now, did I make it more dramatic than what it needed to be? I don't know. But in the headspace that I was in then is not the headspace that I'm in now. And while that was very challenging and it was very demoralizing and embarrassing, scared, I was petrified actually. I didn't know what to do because I identified with that job completely. With that role, it was all of me. I dedicated myself to that role. I sacrificed a lot for that role. And having it literally ripped from under me was something that I was not prepared for. Now, on May 18th, that was a different story. I walked into that room as a very confident, experienced, mature woman. And I knew what I was walking into. I physically, literally, and mentally knew what I was walking into. And the energy that I walked into that room was, I am not going to give you authority or control over my life. And I spoke confidently. I stood straight up in my chair. I had extreme posture and I looked at them in the eyes. I was not fumbling in my words. My hands were not shaking. My voice wasn't shaking. I was confident and I was ready. Because you see, we don't have control over any of that. We don't have control over what was going to happen. The only thing that I could control was my response to it. The only thing that I could control was how I received it. And that's the confidence that I walked in there with. Because you believe in who you want to believe in. I say this in almost every video. I believe in God. And I knew that I walked in there with the armor of God on me, and there was nothing that was going to shake me. And here I am 7 weeks later, sharing my experience with all of you. And I have made it my personal quest to bring you along into my journey. Another common comment that I get is that I don't share where I worked or what I did. People are inquisitive. I think it's a natural thing for humans to do, but that is intentional. I don't think it matters where I worked or what I did, right? Because if you're the receptionist, if you're a mail person, if you're in a C-suite or an executive level person, when you are laid off or when your job is taken from you, your emotions or the series or the array of emotions are going to be relatively the same, right? You have a little bit more financial access, you have a little bit more financial gain, or you have more financial loss. The higher up you go, you have a certain lifestyle, right? So everything is relative. To me, as a human, your human reaction and your feelings about it when you walk out of that building or when you're escorted out of the building, as I was, those emotions are still the same. So I don't know how relative it is for me to share with you where I worked or what I did. And more importantly, I don't want to bring that here to that forum. I want to keep my personal life as private as I can. And I just don't think it's relevant because I'm here to talk about my experience and I'm here to talk about how I'm doing and what I'm doing about it, right? How am I going through this process in a different way as a more mature woman with a lot more experience and a lot more confidence. And that to me is what is driving me forward. So I did write down some notes because, again, I do not want these videos to be 3 days long, okay? So I have to keep writing notes and I will be looking down just to keep me on track as I always do. I just wanted to put that disclaimer out there as well. So let's go through some of the things that, I now 7 weeks post layoff, I can say that I am refusing. I am not leaning into any of these things. I am speaking positivity and I'm speaking life into me. I am proclaiming abundance in my life. And these 5 things, I will not allow me to distract me. I will not allow them to steer me off in a direction that will not support my goals, that will not support my ambitions, that will not support my next chapter. And I wanted to share them here with you. So if you find yourself in this situation where you are in transition of a job, if you've been laid off, if you have been fired, that is something that I'm reading in the comments. And again, I'm not able to respond to all of them, but I am reading most of them. And I will say that there are a lot of us out here that are experiencing transitions, and we may be in the midst of it like I am right now, or most of us have overcome these obstacles and we are now on the other side of that blessing. And what a joy it is to read your comments and know that you are living your best life and that was the best thing that ever happened to you. In the comments I have read of some of you really being challenged by showing up every day. The job is draining you. It is exhausting you. It is pulling you away from your family and you're miserable, but you don't know how to leave because you do have to pay bills. You have a family to support. You have food you have to put on the table. And I hear you. I see you. But for those of you that have either lost your job voluntarily or involuntarily, you have realized and have seen the benefits and the blessings of what that experience showed you and how much better you are now that you have put that job behind you, or it was, forced upon you to be put behind you, and you are now excelling and you are growing and you are making more money and you are more at peace and you're able to spend more quality time with your family because you're happier, because you're not miserable and you're not around toxic people. Okay. So I want to say to all of you that have overcome this or are in the midst of it, know that you're not alone. Know that we have a whole community here to support you and help you. And I'm going to continue this journey in this series to help so many of you, including myself, right? Because these are affirmations for me. Every time I do a video and I share with you kind of where I am mentally and what my approach is, I want you to know that these are verbal affirmations for myself. And while they may not be exact for you, I hope that they encourage you to write down your own list of affirmations of what you're willing to tolerate or not tolerate in this season of your life. So let's get into the 5 areas that I am refusing, okay? Because I am flat out refusing these. And while I couldn't control what was happening in the room, I can control how I respond. And now that I'm out of that fire, I am now in complete control of every single day that I wake up. And how am I going to show up for me and for my family on any given day? But first and foremost, I need to show up for me. So the first thing that I will say is, these are the promises that I'm making to myself. These are promises that I am not going to compromise. And the first one on the list is I refuse to let any company define my worth. And that was my problem with the first time around. You know, I identified with my role. I had worked 16 and a half years for that company, and it was my life. And once that was ripped from under me, I felt like I didn't have any worth. I felt as though I didn't have anything to live for. Meanwhile, I have an extremely supportive husband, a phenomenal, family. My daughters were extremely supportive. My siblings and my extended friends and family, everyone was very supportive. I was the one that was being hard on myself, but I needed to go through that process. And I will say that when I walked in that room on May 18th, I knew right then and there that I was not going to surrender or give anyone in that room or that company, anything in those 4 walls of that building, any control or authority over my life. Okay. So I refuse to let any one company take my worth from me. I would say promise number 2 that I made to myself. I refuse to let fear make my decisions. At this point in my life, looking for something new, I want something that is going to serve me. But as a Christian woman, as a Catholic, I will say that I put prayer before anything. I fully trust that God will clear my path and that He will provide me and put me in a place that He knows will serve my overall goals, my overall, calling of service. And I trust that. I trust that with my whole being. And you believe in who you want to believe in. I believe in God, and I know that He is clearing that path for me. And so I want you to harness yourself and anchor yourself in whatever it is that you believe, whomever that higher power is that you believe in, to not let fear guide your decisions, to not let desperation guide your decisions, right? Use whatever is available to you in terms of, if it's unemployment, if it's public assistance, whatever means necessary to kind of smooth out the hump that you're in, take advantage of that. This is your time to rest. This is your time to collect your thoughts, to collect, what your goals, write them down. Don't let fear be your main driver on how you're going to approach this situation. Yes, it's okay to be scared. Yes, it's okay to be embarrassed. Yes, it's okay to be confused, but don't live there. Go through those emotions and then refocus. Okay. Don't let fear be your main driver. Promise number 3 that I made to myself. I refuse wholeheartedly to stop taking care of myself. Because you see, the first time that I got laid off, I abandoned everything. Myself, my body, my mind, my spirituality, everything went south. I abused my body through alcohol and smoking cigars. I was not exercising at all. I had really negative thoughts. I didn't feel like living anymore. I didn't feel worthy of that. And it was a dark, scary place for me. And I share a little bit about that in a previous video that I did last year. And I will link that for you in the description box below if you want to listen to that. And I go into some detail about what happened to me. And I will say that this time around, I don't have any of those thoughts. I will most definitely prioritize my mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional health. That is so extremely important to me. Because second, showing up for my husband and my family, I need to show up for me. I said this earlier. I need to show up for me first. I need to fill my cup before I can pour into anyone else. And I did not do that the first time. I became extremely depressed. I became a severe alcoholic. I am approaching my 8th year of sobriety this November, and I couldn't be more proud of myself. This woman that was able to walk into that room confidently and assertively is the proof of the work that I have put in these last 8 years. It is the proof of the work that I have put in to show up as my authentic, real, strong self. And I am super proud of that. So no, I am not abandoning my body. No, I will take care of myself. I will prioritize my health. I will make sure that I sleep 8 hours, drink my water, my 1 gallon of water a day. Right now, I'm nursing a little injury. I do have an orthopedic appointment this week that I'm going to, but I'm not able to lift, but I am getting in over 10,000 steps a day. I am moving my body. I am stretching every day, twice a day, because movement is health. And I know this, I believe it. And as someone that is a first generation high risk cancer, colon cancer. My father died of colon cancer. I am a 98th percentile high risk of colon cancer. And so there are things that I've done in my life that have overhauled all of that. And for I would say for the last 3 years, I have not had any polyps or anything. Maybe I'll do a video on that on a separate day. But I do have a video on my whole cancer story, my father's cancer story and mine, in a separate video. But yeah, I'm taking care of myself, and that's a non-negotiable. So promise number 4 that I'm making to myself: I refuse to believe that my best years are behind me. Let's face it, there are more years behind me than I have ahead of me, but I am not going into that headspace where I feel like this is the end. This chapter closes just because I'm 56 years old. A common theme that I've seen in the comments is ageism. And I know that that's a thing, and it is. It's a reality. It is a thing. This is why it's important for you to make sure that you craft and you draft your resume in a way that doesn't provide any kind of, information that will help them narrow down your age, or they're able to see, what age group you are in. And it's important for you to really consciously work on this piece of your resume, because that is your first introduction. That is your first gate into any job opportunity. So it is important for you to make sure that you look at those little small details in your resume or in your interview that does not lead you into, an area or put you in a group setting that will create ageism in that conversation or in that introduction, right? And so because your resume is your first introduction, be very careful of the dates that you put in there. Be very careful of the information that you put in there. Be factual, be true, be transparent, but you don't need to give certain dates. And so be mindful of that. And again, as I create these series of videos, I will talk more about what things you should and shouldn't be putting into a resume that will help you, kind of remove or minimize this ageism issue that we are dealing with. But at 56 years old, I have full confidence that I will find another job. I've had several interviews. I've had several second interviews, and I'm just waiting to hear back. The reality is I am showing up as who I am. I am showing up as the best version of me and what I can provide to a company. What are what are my skill sets? What are the benefits if they hire me, right? All of those things. I'm talking to all of my soft skills. I'm talking to all of my transferable skills. Those are the things that I'm bringing forward into a resume. And I refuse to let anyone think that my age is the end of my career, that my age is the end of who I am. I don't know what my future has for me. I don't know what God has planned for me. But I know for sure that He has opened this opportunity for me to navigate, to walk through this space of figuring it out. And He is guiding me. I believe that 100%. All right. And my last promise to myself is, and it goes with what I just said, I refuse to lose hope. Hope is something that we all have to have. Hope is something that we all have to anchor ourselves into, because sometimes that is all we have left is hope. Hope that the right person sees my resume. Hope that that person that is interviewing me is in a good mood, right? Hope that my family stays healthy, sound mind, body, and soul. Hope that we create and cultivate an environment around us that helps us to show up as our best versions. But that requires work, right? Hope without work doesn't really make anything happen. You have to work towards all of those things. And you can have hope as your guiding light, as your guiding North Star, but you have to do some work behind it. You have to implement some things. In my previous videos regarding menopause and a woman after 50, that is removing toxic people, removing negative people. You cannot take advice from someone who hasn't been where you are, right? It's easy for someone to tell you, go find a job. You're spending too much time at home. If they have a secure job that they've been at for 30, 40 years, it's easy for them to say that. It's different for you because you're experiencing job loss. So don't really, always be mindful of the advice that you're getting and know where that person is coming from, what frame of mind that person is coming from. And they may have good intention, but if they haven't been where you are, remember that, right? Keep that into your perspective. I'm not saying don't listen to them, but it's just a perspective, right? And hope is something that we all have to have in the deepest part of our souls, because sometimes the weight of the world is very heavy. The weight of everything around us seems heavy and almost as though we can't carry it. And sometimes all we have left is a little bit of hope to push us forward, to help us wake up in the morning. And I am not going to let anyone take that away from me. I am not going to let any institution or organization take away the hope and the work that I am putting behind showing up as the best version of myself for all things, for my home, for my husband, for my daughters, for my mother, my siblings, my nephews, my nieces, cousins, friends, right? I want to show up as the best version of me to all of them. And I can only do that by preserving the things that make me happy and bring me joy. And to me, that is kind of the nucleus of hope for me, is enjoying time with the people that I love, surrounding myself around the people that literally light me up and motivate me and inspire me and bring me joy. And even if you're family and you're negative and you're toxic, bye. No time for that. We don't have time for that, people. So be mindful, stay with your hope, do the work. Don't allow anyone to make you feel like this is the end of your future, of what is to come, because this is not the end. Only you can say, I give up. I no longer want to pursue this. I no longer feel worthy of this. Only you can make those decisions. Don't let someone else put those on you. All right? So, and again, I don't know what's next. I don't have all the answers. I don't have a crystal ball. But what I do know is that I will continue to be a good steward of my faith. I will continue to show up for my family, and I will continue to put my best foot forward in showing up as the best person for a job, whether that be entrepreneurship, whether that be a content creator, or working a 9 to 5, working for a corporation, right? I don't know what my future holds, but I'm ready. I am beyond ready. Okay, so that is the end of my promises. I wanted to kind of group them into 5 high-level promises for all of you. I hope that one or all of them resonated with you, or you're making a list of your own. And if that is the case, I want you to share with the rest of this community, what are those things that you are refusing? What are those promises that you are keeping for yourself, not anyone else, but for you, so that you can remain intact mentally, emotionally, spiritually? What are those things that you are promising to yourself and you're holding on to? I want to thank you for being here. If you're new, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. I am excited for what's to come. I'm excited for this series, and I get really excited to share updates with you every week. I try to post every Thursday and Thursday afternoon. And so that's how you can look for my videos. You can, I'll be posting hopefully every Thursday, and I will bring you new insights, new information as I navigate this journey myself for a second time. And I'm excited. I'm excited for what's to come. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for all of your comments and all of your love. I want you to know that you are seen, you are heard. We are in this community together. We are all in this together. And let's continue to strive on. Let's continue to support each other. We can use a little bit of love and light in this world. And I'm happy to take up a little bit of space in this corner of this world and of this life that we have, of enabling that and contributing to that. So thank you for being here. And until the next one, adios.